Some words are too sacred for the world, so I whisper them here across time and breath to the one whose love rewrote every silence in me. This is a love poem for them, for always. The Oni, the Dreamer, and the Bridge of Stars. A love fairy tale created by Pacampara. If this tale stirred something in you, a memory, a dream, or a truth, our Ko-fi, Amazon, and Patreon links are in the description. Support helps us keep writing for you and the ones you hold dear. Opening poem. When rivers of stars wove silver strings and mountains hummed with newborn dreams, there walked a girl of flame and stone and a boy whose kindness marked the zone. Their paths entwined in fields unseen, where spirits swept and wild winds keen, till day and night, through storm and flight, they forged a bridge of love and light. The evening the heavens split open, the scent of burning wood and the first blossoms of jasmine hung heavily in the air. Clouds rolled apart like curtains drawn by impatient hands, and down through the gap came Yongsun, not with the grace of the kami or the hush of falling snow, but like a comet tearing through the firmament, a living scar of silver against the brushed violet sky. She struck the earth not in ceremony, but with a crash that shook the mountains and cracked the stones of an ancient shrine that had, until that moment, known only the tread of prayers. Her hair, luminous and wild as river in flood, framed the face carved in stubbornness and defiance. Her horns, sleek and sharp, caught the moonlight like drawn blades, and in her copper eyes there burned an anger fierce enough to summon storms. She stood there, barefoot, upon the ruined shrine, and demanded a voice that split the night like thunder. Where is he? Where is my father? The mountains, who had seen the rise and fall of empires, whispered no answer. The earth, which had drunk the blood of kings and peasants alike, remained silent. Only the crows, startled from their roost, wheeled above her in dark spiraling confusion. Far from this violence, where the road sloped gently into the arms of a sleeping village, Just wiped his forehead with the back of his hand. His body ached from the kindness he had rendered. Hauling crates for an old merchant whose gratitude was thin as water, repairing the loose stones in a neighbor's wall. Jess was a man unnoticed by the world, and he preferred it that way, or so he told himself. It was easier not to hope when you have asked for nothing in return. It was also outside the flickering vending machine, beneath a neon hail of moths, that Yongsun collided into his life like fate-made flesh. The coins he had fished from his pocket scattered across the ground, and Jess, with a practiced murmur of apology, bent to retrieve them. When he looked up, there she stood, barefoot, blood and stardust clinging to her skin, a tempest of a girl framed by the indifferent glow of the streetlight. "You," she said, her voice a command that brooked no argument, "are coming with me." And because Jess was a man who had never learned to refuse, he rose without question and followed her into the unknown. The path they tore through the world was not quiet. Lanterns dimmed in their passing. Shrines trembled as the kami stirred from their ancient slumber. Jess, with his open heart and quiet ways, drew their notice like a flame draws moths. But to them, Yongsun was a wildfire, unpredictable, dangerous, and so they sent whispers to the forest, ripples through the rivers, calling for her to be stopped. Their first trial came swiftly. On the splintered bridge that crossed the White Serpent River, a Pax Kami barred their path. Its eyes shimmered with malice disguised as concern. Leave the Oni girl behind, the spirit intoned. Its many tails unfurling like banners in the mist, she will bring ruin. Jess, who had been asked all his life to abandon his burdens to make others comfortable, only tightened his grip on Yongsun's hand, and they stepped forward. The bridge shuddered but held. The fox spirit hissed and vanished into mist, leaving only the soft sound of Yongsun's breathing and the faintest tremor of Jess's hand around hers. The inns along the dusty roads, where the lanterns swung gently in the evening breeze and cicadas sang dirges to the fading summer, they found their respite. Here, surrounded by the old wood and the faint scene of old paper, Jess and Yongsun became storytellers, weaving new myths to pay for their stay. It was by firelight on cracked tatami mats that they spoke of Bule, daughter of the weaver's star, of her forbidden love for the mortal dreamer Jess, of the bridges built of stardust and laughter, of the wife sisters Yong and Wiin, who carried lanterns across the sky to light the path home. The children sat cross-legged in rapt silence, their eyes shining with the light of 1,000 unspoken dreams. One girl in particular, the innkeeper's daughter, pressed closer each night, braiding bright ribbons into her hair and asking with the innocent urgency of the very young whether she too might one day find the bridge across the stars. "You are already weaving it," Jess said, resting a hand gently atop her small head. "You only need to dream bold enough," Yongsun added, her voice rough but kind, and walk toward it without fear. But the Kami was relentless. The next trial awaited them in the Temple of Fallen Moons, a ruin wrapped in the silence of forgotten prayers. Here, an ancient poet's spirit appeared, clad in a robe of shifting ink and sadness. It spoke without moving its mouth. "Answer me, what weighs heavier, a broken promise or a forgotten dream?" Just stood before the altar, heart pounding like a boy accused of a crime he did not understand. He thought of all the hands he had held without being held back, all the silent rooms he had walked through without leaving a mark. He thought of dreams, fragile and easily broken, yet endlessly reborn. A broken promise, he whispered, "Dreams are immortal." The spirit inclined its head, and the temple doors opened with a sigh. Beyond the temple lay a grove of mirrors, where Yongsun was forced to look upon herself, not the proud warrior she imagined, but a frightened child lashing out at the world for fear it would abandon her first. Each mirror showed her different face, cruel, selfish, broken. It was just a reflection, crying as she turned away from him, that brought her to her knees. "I won't," she breathed, and the grove shattered into starlight. They journeyed further, to a town where mist rolled so thick that the streets disappeared beneath it, where the houses leaned like old men dozing in the sun. Here lived Chumugi, keeper of a tea house heavy with memory. Chumugi brewed tea that tasted like nostalgia, a sweetness that ached on the tongue. In the evenings, as the mist thickened, he showed them a painted screen depicting the war between the Kami and the Crimson Oni. "My wife believed," he said, his voice torn thin by years of absence, "that love could mend any world." That night, as Jess and Yongsun slept, Chumugi's wife appeared. It was woven of mist and moonlight, a ghost that smelled of rain on warm stones. She pressed a kiss to her husband's brow and turned to Jess and Yongsun. "Even the heavens bend for love," she whispered. "So must you." They had wandered through the woods for hours, following a trail of golden moths that pulsed like memories given wings. The sky above was silvered with thin mist, and the ground beneath them soft and spongy with moss. Here the air was so still it felt holy, like every breath they took disturbed something ancient that did not wish to be seen. Just brushed aside a low-hanging branch, and there beyond the thicket opened a hidden valley lit by 1,000 slow-burning lanterns, suspended in the air as if held by unseen strings. They did not flicker, they burned steady like watchful eyes or silent prayers. Yongsun stepped forward, her eyes narrowing as the air shifted, thickened, hummed, and they came, not with trumpets or thunder, but with a hush of old grief. The kami appeared like wind, shimmering figures of water and flame, stone and air, rising from the roots of the valley itself. One of them, a woman whose face was hidden behind the veil of falling sakura petals, approached them. When she spoke, her voice echoed like it had been spoken long ago and just now arrived. You seek to understand, she said, why the kami and oni have stood as enemies for an age. Sit, then listen. They sat upon stones that were already warm, as if expecting them. The air changed again. The mist folded back like a curtain in the space between breaths. The valley itself became a mirror, and they saw it all. They saw a time before war, wherein kami and oni shared the earth as two halves of a whole. The kami were the light, the wind, the dreams of harmony. The oni were the fire, the storm, the untamed truths of passion and instinct. For a time, it worked. The world breathed in rhythm, with temples built where flame met sky, the rivers blessed where horns dipped into water. But love between kami and oni was forbidden. The veiled kami whispered as visions unfurled like smoke. It was thought too volatile, too dangerous. They saw a pair, a kami made of morning frost and an oni carved from molten iron, fall in love despite it. They met in secret, left offerings in each other's sacred places, whispered their vows into moonlight. But when their love bore a child of both worlds, fear spread like rot. They called the child unnatural. Another kami murmured. They feared she would unravel the balance. They feared she would become too powerful. In the vision, a council of kami struck first, sealing the oni lover beneath a sacred mountain, severing the bond before it could grow. The frost-born mother shattered in sorrow, turning into mist that blanketed the land for 7 years. The child, unknowing, was cast into exile. Jess felt his breath catch. He glanced at Yongsun, whose eyes were locked on the vision, unreadable. The horns atop her head caught the light from the lanterns, and for the first time, he saw them not as a mark of difference, but as a crown of inheritance. We did not seek war, the veiled one said, but we feared it, and so it came. The mirror of mist now showed flames, temples crumbling, oni rampaging. It showed villages burned, kami wounded, curses woven and retaliated. For every act of destruction, there had been pain behind it, misunderstanding, loss. The war was never about power, the kami whispered. It was about fear, and the price was unbearable. Slowly the lanterns began to drift downward, surrounding Jess and Yongsun like stars brought to earth. One by one, they extinguished, not with smoke but with silence. Now you walk toward something old and broken, the voice continued, and perhaps love might yet be strong enough to stitch what we tore apart. Jess looked at Yongsun, but she wasn't looking back. Her eyes were still lost in the vision. The memory of the child left behind. In the weight of being born of both chaos and divinity, they feared her, Yongsun said quietly, more to herself than to anyone else, because they feared what they didn't understand. Takami did not deny it. The veil of mist drew again across the valley, and the lanterns rose back into the trees, fewer now but warmer. Just reached out and shook her hand. Let's prove them wrong, he said. And together they stood. When they woke, they found 2 cups of steaming tea waiting, and a single white blossom resting between them. At last, they reached the portal hidden among weeping cedars, a gate of stone and bone, humming with power. Beyond it lay the Oni village, crouched against the mountains like a wounded animal. And on the obsidian throne waited her father. He rose as they entered, towering, terrible. Once a great Oni, now a monster, twisted by rage and despair. You are no daughter of mine, he spat. You are weak. The battle that followed was less a fight than a reckoning. Yongsun hurled all her fury, all her sorrow against him, and it broke against the iron shell of his hatred. In the end, she fell to her knees defeated, just without armor, without power save the unwavering beat of his heart stepped forward. He was ready to be broken for her. The Kami answered him. The Oni, remembering the warmth of old bonds, rose beside him. Yongsun's mother, revealed in her full glory as a Kami of rivers and storms, descended with a cry of sorrow and blessing. Together they bound the broken king, weaving spells of starlight, earth, and forgiveness. They sealed him beneath the roots of the mountain, where no rage could reach the sky. When dust cleared, Jess and Yongsun stood hand in hand between the Kami and the Oni. Let sorrow be our teacher, Jess said, his voice steady as mountain winds. Let love be our bridge, Yongsun added, her eyes fierce and shining. And so it was. Temples were built where Oni and Kami worshipped side by side. Children of both bloods learned to laugh together, to dream together. Lanterns of all colors floated each festival night, carrying prayers of unity into the endless sky. Epilogue. Home among the stars. Seasons spun past like golden leaves on a river. Jess and Yongsun, once a wanderer in the storm, became legends, sung in lullabies, and carved into temple doors. They built a world not of stone but of compassion, a bridge between realms that once believed they were born to destroy each other. Each night, by the river of stars, they would tell stories to the children gathered at their feet, of Buell and Yong and Duin, of mortal bridges, of lost ones found, of love stronger than sorrow, brighter than flame. And above them, stitched forever into the velvet black of the heavens, the stars smiled and danced, ever watching, ever guiding, lighting the way home, always love, always. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's build our own bridge of dreams. One star, one story, one heart at a time. Stay under the stars with us and enjoy the story.